I'd like to call the finance meeting to order. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to our approval of meeting minutes of August 14th. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of August 14th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we're at our topic for discussion for today, gentlemen. Heard you had some issues.
Yes.
Settle down, take a break, take a deep breath, and welcome. Today, the topic is CDI, BTM, adult probation, capital, etc. So, Darby.
Yeah, so the folks, Brian Stahl and Jim Becker here from BTM Software Solutions, they're going to give us a demonstration today of their case management system. They're one of 3 case management providers in the state for adult probation. We have UCM, who we're currently involved with, and another provider has just a few counties. So we've been with UCM since 2014. We are pleased with the service. UCM is a CCAP product. And we actually had a demo with Brian and Jim back in March. We were very satisfied with the product, and we wanted to share that information with the commissioners and hopefully look forward to approval of the new system. So I'll turn it over to Brian.
Okay. Thank you again for allowing us to be a little bit late. Flat tire toe and run the car, and we still got here and hopefully good time. I'm only going to take a minute for a brief background, just so you know a little bit about us. Prior to this, I worked for the Pike County Courts for 10 years. I did a stint in federal courts at the Wilkes-Barre office. And then I worked for a technology company right in Harrisburg called Computer Aided Incorporated on technology projects within the criminal justice system. Jim and I met up. We built the adult probation application, started in 2013. First county was Pike County, followed by Columbia in 2014, and since then we've grown to 37 probation offices. We also have 50 plus district attorney offices throughout the counties within Pennsylvania, and we're also starting to build a public defender application. Carbon County is the first one that's going to be deployed. Allegheny County has shown interest. They put in for their budget, and there's several other public defenders. So we're looking, we have majority of the DA's offices. We'll have probably 42 to 45 probation offices by the end of next year, and then expanding out to the public defender's office. So within our records management system, again, we take more of an approach of trying to make it where the end users can use the system, navigate quickly, get the information that they need for courts, collections, court reminders. So we're going to try to hit on the topics that you may be most interested in. Stop us at any time if you have additional questions. But I think the first thing that we kind of wanted to jump in was collections, probably. So within our system, and for IT, just so you know, I think you worked with DEX previously, the AOPC data exchange. Yeah. We're getting into that a little bit more. Currently, we get all of our AOPC and MVJ, common police court, magistrate, district court, financial information from an AOPC court case event message. We're going to be looking to also supplement that with what's called DEX, data exchange, through AOPC. We're working with Delaware County DA's office now. We've established a connection, and Jim started looking at all the financial information so we can get more about payment plans, how the money's distributed, where all the money's going. So I know that was a big topic that you're looking at as far as collection. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim to get into the application, just to show you what we have now, and then talk about the enhancements that we're going to be making.
So like Brian was saying right now, what we get on a nightly fee is all of the payments that were made in the county the previous day. So we consume all of those financial records, process them, and apply them to the appropriate cases. With that, let me just go into a collection case here. And so in here, we're able to go into our collections area, and this is where all of our financial information is applied that we get from that AOPC feed. So we populate all the payment information, so we'll know the offender's last payment, payment that they made, the last payment date, and whether or not they're in arrears or not. With that information, we have a collections module batch process where they can come into our collections area and it'll list all of the offenders that are in the collection area that are 1 month past due, 2 months past due, and 3 months past due. And what the counties are doing is, the beginning of each month, they're coming in here and they are automatically sending out text, email, or voice notifications to all those individuals, letting them know that, hey, they're 1 month behind, they're 2 months behind, or they're 3 months behind. Everything is documented. We do have the ability to generate forms as well, so if you wanted to print out your forms in here instead of out of the CPCMS modules, you'd be able to do that as well. And this will allow you to streamline so that you're notifying these offenders on a monthly basis rather than waiting until they are so far behind and then entering the warrant process.
And one of the things, just to jump in real quick, when I worked for Pike County, we were a combination probation officer, we were juvenile, adult, domestic relations. And then domestic relations with child support, they implemented this a long time ago. When we started building this, we said we wanted a texting, voice, email reminder system, because they were implementing it to increase child support collections, and they saw a dramatic increase once they implemented a notification system. So there's a couple counties that are using it. Chester County uses our system right here, Clarion County, and they've seen, we've saved days of work for Chester County. They have 5 collections officers, but that same premise that if you send people reminders and you start the process right away when they go off of supervision, where they maxed out, the court no longer has maybe criminal jurisdiction, but now it's more of a civil matter. If you don't have contact with them, they kind of forget about stuff and they're like, hey, nobody's coming after me. But if you're continuously sending them reminders, they're like, hey, they know where I'm at, they're not letting me go just because I'm no longer under the criminal court jurisdiction. So just wanted to jump in and say that real quick.
So that's really the premise of our collections module. Right now, we're getting a nightly feed, and with this new connection, to be able to get more data from CPCMS, we're hoping to better integrate the collections data that we're able to get from CPCMS and make our collection module even better, rather than just getting payment information. With the data exchange, we'll be able to get the payment plan info, whether they're linked with multiple cases, co-defendants, all that kind of information that you're probably relying on CPCMS to really get the actual, in-depth information about the payments.
Any questions on collections? We can go in and show you some forms and how you batch document forms, but at a very high level, it kind of, you see the radio button for 1 month past due, Jim collect 2 months past due, then that would go through our database and look for people that were 2 months past due. And also when we send out or we receive the payment information in, if their status in our system is 1, 2, or 3 months past due, and they do make a payment, we can automatically update them back to good standing. And like Jim said, as we get more information from AOPC, we're always looking to enhance our product. From 2013 till now, we continuously add stuff based on user feedback, and just when we go into counties, we listen, and we know what their business processes are, and that's what we want to streamline and improve.
And is anyone looking at this system compared to what we have come up with any return on investment numbers?
It's kind of been, right, we haven't gotten the quantitative data. We've gotten more of like the qualitative feedback as far as Janie, the chief probation officer in Clarion, saying she's seen a dramatic decrease in the amount of money that she's had to pay for postage for just sending out notices. And then the whole, not just postage, but then you got the ink, the paper, the envelopes, all those supplies that probation officers have to purchase. And then just the resources, the times that, if there's 100 people that you're sending a notice out to and you click a couple buttons and we're automatically sending that out at 6 o'clock at night. We usually send our court reminders at 6:30 and the collection reminders at 6. That's been a study that's the best time to kind of send out these notices that people are going to be home. It's kind of not before they're going to bed and not hitting at dinner time. But Chester County, they're our biggest county. They're our third-class county.
Yes.
Third-class county. And
With the how long?
we've been with adult probation since September
Yes.
2018.
Yes, for about a year.
So about a year, and then the pretrial department.
On this system?
On this system, correct. That was a bigger challenge because they had 5 different databases that they were using. They had 5 different applications. They had their court view, which was like UCM, and then they had like a collections database, they had a pretrial database, they had a RAC database, and we took all that and combined it into one. It was a huge project. UCM's a lot easier for us. We already ran scripts. We know how to do the data conversion.
This whole process is essentially driven by numerics, so like the return on investment should be pretty easy to calculate, whether it's time
Right.
or number of cases processed, or there's various efficiencies that really should be easy to
Right.
term for this.
Any of the data in our system, we'd be able to generate any reports that a county or probation courts, county commissioners looking for as far as kind of what's going on with the system. And then obviously there's other data sources as far as AOPC that you may be able to tap into and say, okay, in 2019, what was our collection? In 2020, what's our collection, and see has that increased. Obviously, there might be some variables as far as the type of cases that are coming on, but we'd be able to show kind of that information.
Roughly speaking, what's the training need to get up to speed on this?
So the training need up until Luzerne County was kind of when we first started out, there were a lot of Class 6 counties that came on board. Logistically, it was just easier to start that way. We wanted to make sure we had a good name, good reputation. Luzerne County, and we usually do 2 days on site. But for Luzerne County, I believe we did 3 days on site. And when we did Chester County, we actually were planning on doing 5 days on site because they had 114 staff. But what we wound up doing was doing training sessions prior to going live. So instead of like deploying and kind of working with staff, go live on Monday, being on site, training on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we went on site, and this was outside of even our scope of work, and we just did it because we don't look at things as a short-term relationship. We look at things as a long-term. So we went up and we said, hey, this is going to be better for you. It's going to be better for us. We're going to get off on a better foot. So I think we probably went up 10 days and just did on-site training with them, different departments, pre-trial, collect, and just worked with them. Then when we went live, we were only there on site 2 days, I believe. So we were planning on being on site 5 days. Once we went live, we only had to be there 2 days. But we really meet whatever the needs of the court are. And
So,
we go.
so you outlined for me what your obligation to the training is. My question really
Sure.
is, how long till they are operating efficiently on that system?
Oh, within the first week. I mean, we've gone up, to example, Susquehanna County and their staff that weren't even able to sit in under training. And they're like, we can do this, we know how to do it. That's one of the good things about our application. It's very user-friendly. It's very quick to pick up navigation, know the system, where to go, what to do. And that's one of the things, if Darby got feedback, and I'm sure he got that, how easy it is to use our system. So within the first week, they're going to be running. And usually what we do from our commitment is the first week, obviously we're dedicated solely to that county that we just deployed, and the second week as well, just so we're there for any kind of, usually after the second week, there's, very few phone calls that we get.
One of the reasons I'm asking this is because I'm assuming this is for the general collection effort. So, our collection effort operates under a mandate that it must pay for itself and then some.
Right.
The then some is still being defined because of a number of variables. So this will be short term. This is an added expense.
Right.
So it obviously has to be offset by increased collections, increased efficiencies, whatever. So the amount of time that it takes to get up to speed to travel the learning curve, as it were,
Right.
is going to be an important variable in calculating whether this really works or not. So
And I'm extremely confident with the three of our things that we look at is to provide a great application that's easy to use and gives you the biggest bang for your buck. The second is customer service, and the third is the price. Working for the courts for 10 years, I worked with the budget process, know how that works as far as submitting, getting things approved, and I know how tight county budgets are at sometimes. So I guarantee you look at our costs compared to any other competitor. When we were in Chester County, their quotes were $250,000 a month. Our implementation cost was $35,000. Again, we're not looking at doing something in the first year and walking away and saying like, hey, that was a great first year. We're looking for the long term. There's really hardly any implementation fee for us. We could easily charge $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 just to implement training, all the on-sites that we do. We just want to get you converted, get you up and running, get you more efficient, happy with the product. And
So as this is envisioned as a 5-year program, what are our options in terms of, let's say after year one, we don't see any material increase in results, or staff decides they don't like it,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
If it's not working, what are
Right.
our options?
I mean, your options are to go with another system, but I'm 100% confident your staff are not going to do that. Just from the feedback from our users, and I can guarantee anybody that reaches out to any of the counties that are using our system. And we've had nobody leave our system. So we started in 2014, we're only gaining customers, we haven't lost one customer.
I guess I'm still a little hung up on the idea that we don't have any return on investment. You've been doing it for a while, but we don't have any counties that are generating any return on investment metrics.
They're not currently producing anything internally. Nobody's asked us to kind of produce anything. They know just with the services that we offer.
The point of process improvement is
Right.
to increase efficiency. So I can't imagine somebody spends this kind of money to implement something and then doesn't figure out whether it was worth it or not.
We can implement anything that you want to see on your return on investment. You would be the first county that wanted us specifically to do something like that. We have no problem.
Kind of
with-
special that way, yeah. We take
And that's
that
for we look at it that every county's special, so, and we want to treat everybody like that.
Some are more special than others.
And that's fine, and I agree with you on that. We get a lot more calls from Chester County than we do from like a Susquehanna County, but we're willing to work with you that adds value to our product. Those are the kind of things that we always look, saying, okay, we do this, we don't nickel and dime, we don't come back and say, well, for that report, it's gonna cost you $150, and this form's gonna cost you $150. That's kind of built in. It's like bigger projects. If somebody's like, we want you to do an integration with Pages, that's gonna require 3 months of staff resources. Then we look for some funding or some collaborative monies from all the counties. But again, that's something that you can reach out to all the probation officers. We've helped, because I used to write PCCD grants for the court. I probably got a couple $1 million for Pike County when I was there. So we assist with grant writing whenever the opportunity arises. But I don't think we haven't ever billed anybody outside of what their normal invoice has been on additional charges. So you're not gonna have any unexpected costs.
I don't think my questions really are focusing on the initial outlay or even follow-ups. It's really the part of process improvement that I care about is the improvement.
Right.
So I guess I'm going to expect to hear a lot more about that as we go forward in terms of what.
And we can work with the probation office and the court and say, what are the specific things that you want to measure, and we can make sure, well, those data elements are there. The thing is, we don't have a prior system. There has to be the benchmarks that would just have to be set up, and then, like, okay, we can capture the other stuff. That's not going to be a problem from our perspective. And we would encourage that. That would be a great thing for your application to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a great selling point for
Yes.
future clients
Yes.
as well, I imagine. So-
Yes.
Is this ask question time, is it?
Sure.
Are you finished with your presentation?
I know the 4 topics, one was collections was gonna be the big one. And just to inform you, because we do have the DA's office already, that we are building the public defender application, and that will be implemented in Carbon County before the end of the year. So just to make you aware of that, and if you had any questions. The other around the adult probation application, I think coming up and doing a demo, and just knowing that we're growing, we do have those efficiencies to make things a lot easier, a lot of communication abilities where you can text right from our application out to offenders and defendants, and get information right back quick, and it's also documented. So I don't want to spend too much time on the adult probation side. I'm trying to think the 4th was court reminders. We also have the court reminders for the court, so we've been doing that. And actually, our first county with court reminders was Allegheny County. I've been working with Allegheny County for probably 7, 8 years now, and that was a system that we built for them. And they have their own in-house records management system for probation. We just provide that web service and that integration for them. So we've been providing the court reminders for the court there for probably 6 years now.
Okay, so my first question is, we got involved with UCM, 5 or 6 years ago, I guess it was.
2014.
2014. And at the time, I believe, we were given a presentation about how this was going to streamline things. District attorney, the jail, corrections, adult probation, and essentially once and done data entry, offender's name, address can be written and typed more than 100 times, and this was going to eliminate all, that duplication of effort. So, and then you provided us with a copy of an email that you sent to Judge Peck
Yes.
just last month, saying that the UCM case management system was promoted as a software solution that would unify court-related operations within the county and interface with other county operations across the state. After 5 years of frustration and disappointment, it's become obvious that UCM has not met expectations. The system's far from efficient, data entry difficult, information is lost in the system, customer service is poor, slowness of the system prevents tasks from being completed in a timely manner. How come this is the first time we're hearing about these problems?
Those problems has existed the whole way through since 14. We've been working with UCM and they haven't gotten any better. Other counties involved, in fact, there were 12 counties that have flipped to BTM because of the issues with UCM. And some of the other counties, some of our neighboring counties, Dauphin, York, Berks County, continue to be involved with UCM. But quite frankly, they're so invested in the product and have invested so much money in UCM that they don't want to leave at this point. And that's one of the reasons.
Which
why
county is that?
They're Berks,
Berks.
Dauphin, and York. And that's one of the reasons why I reached out to BTM, because at this point we aren't heavily invested, but we could become one of those counties that are invested in a product that's really an inferior product. And certainly don't want to feed the neighbors.
My question has to do with what communications occurred between, the folks that are, the CCAP, and what feedback have you received? Because this is the first I'm hearing about this.
Yeah, we've had communication with CCAP. We deal with their help desk when there's issues with the system. We deal with them. We've spoken to folks from CCAP. And it's always that they're working on fixing the issues and the problems.
Okay.
And
Well, in any
that's-
event, it comes as a surprise to me. I hadn't heard anything about this until just now. Yeah. Next thing I always am interested in, so are we gonna piecemeal this again? This is gonna be just for adult probation, or what's the plan here?
It would be the entire package. So it would replace UCM. Currently, we have an adult probation module. It would replace that. We have the court administrator is involved in court notification.
Yeah, as far as the court, our side, not adult probation, it would replace the court notification program that UCM is running, and it would add the collections module, which we do not currently have any kind of collections module through either UCM. We only use what's available in CPCMS as well as the hand counting and Excel spreadsheets that these guys use. When we did have the demo with these guys, I think we were shown some of the spreadsheet information, we talked about it, and they said they can get all that information out of BTM. So some things that these guys are basically hand monitoring right now, I can't think of a better term, is that a good term to describe? Basically keep tracking of it manually, can be incorporated into the system if it's not already there. So that module alone would save that additional work that they're doing outside. We don't currently have. We've been told by UCM that there is a collections module. From what they've presented to us, I do not believe it is as robust as what BTM is offering. I have spoken to UCM several times about issues that we've had with the text notification, and even after they got word that BTM was kind of we were looking at BTM, they said, what can we do to improve UCM to keep you with us? I sent them a list of enhancements that BTM already offers and said, these are the kind of things we'd like to see in UCM. And to be honest, I haven't heard back. And that was not too long after the last demo. Do you remember when that? I apologize, I don't remember when you guys were here. March. So in March, I sent a list of things that BTM was able to offer already to UCM, based on them reaching out to me, and I've heard nothing back.
Okay, so how is this system, other than the warrants collection unit and collections, how is this system going to be used by the courts? How's it going to be used by the DA's office? How's it going to be used by the public defender's office?
Well, the district attorney's office
How's it
already
being
has
used
it.
by adult? In other words, are we buying separate systems again? I'm trying to get at that, because the idea with the UCM is we're gonna save money, right, streamline these operations. So what's the deal now?
And that's what we're back on track, and that's why I invited Public Defender, because they currently have UCM, for him to come to see the demo and make a decision if they were interested. But that is the idea, is that all of us get on board with the same platform. Obviously, our district attorney's office is already involved with it, so they're already on board with the system.
And one of the advantages, obviously, right now, I'll speak to the DA's office and probation, a little bit about the public defender, because we have meetings with Cumberland County Public Defender's Office. And any type of information sharing, you don't need to be, I think that was the biggest thing that was misrepresented with the product, that everybody had to be on the same platform in order to share information, and that was not the case.
Well, the public defender's office is gonna have some sensitive information.
Right.
And the DA's office is gonna have some sensitive, that they wanna, separate night and
Right.
I would presume.
They would have their separate applications, they'd have
But in
separate
terms of
databases.
the tracking of the individual, I mean, that information is all gonna be shared now? Is that how this would work, or?
Well, one of the
we still
things-
type in separate names in at the public defender's office?
One of the things that happens with the court case event message, so if for the DA's office, for probation, and for the public defender's office, so public defender's office, again, being a JNet, JTAC, when I work for the courts, they're not considered a criminal justice agency. Yet, we're able to get what's called a public court case event message for the public defender's office. So they would be able to initiate their cases using the data from the MDJ system and CPCMS. So that would reduce all that redundant data entry that you're doing now. You would just pull a case in.
They're using UCM, so they're.
Okay. So it's a very similar thing. You would just be able, the cases would be there for you. You wouldn't be typing anything in. Same with probation, same with the DA's office. And then on top of that, if they wanted to share information, say the public defender's office wanted to know when attorney evaluations were completed for DUI or anything like that, or who the assigned probation officer was, so you don't have to call down to the office and say, hey, who's the probation officer assigned? As long as the agreements were in place, we would just say, okay, well, we have those interfaces, we can show you that information. So, and the nice thing is, you don't have to deal with separate companies, because that's usually where it's like, hey, we can do it, and then somebody else wants to charge $10,000. We just do it.
So all these systems are integrated with the magistrate and with the CBCNet application. So once something's filed with the magistrate, the data becomes available to the district attorney, to the probation department, to public defenders. And then as things occur, cases gone over to common pleas, court events are scheduled, payments are made, all that data is going to be flowing automatically into these systems. So there won't be any, like they used to manually add the information. All that data is going to be automatically transferred from the MDJ and from the common pleas.
So there's a cost estimate here of $95,000. Is that, what does that cover?
It should be $9,500 if there's a.
Yeah, it's not 95,000.
Yeah.
So $95,500 total project cost.
That's
That's
the 5 year.
That's the 5 year, that's the 5 year cost that was on the finance report, the finance committee form. Actually, the annual cost for this, and we talked about option 3, was $19,000.
Okay.
Over 5 years.
Per year.
19,000.
19,000 per year. So over
And-
5 years, it would be $95,500.
And that
Interesting
includes
enough-
all the modules.
Yeah.
That's all the modules, including modules we don't currently have through UCM.
Okay, all right. What are we paying
Well,
now?
that's
What are we
only-
paying for UCM now?
That doesn't include.
It doesn't
It
include.
does not, so the
Oh,
module is
that does not include that.
$4,000 extra. So the collections module would be the additional 4,
Right.
and the public defender would be additional
What's our current financial cost for UCM?
4. About $20,100, and that's without the
year?
collections module per year, and that's under the public defender pays.
And UCM wants us to, we would have to pay a substantial amount and help develop the financial module.
It doesn't exist currently in UCM.
At a very high level view of some of the financials and only like 3 buckets of data. So they haven't used DEX, the integration piece yet, to then build the extra detail that you already have in the system or you're working on it.
So we have the information that we're getting from the court case event message, but we want to enhance that from additional data that's available through
So
the bank.
enhancing the product, what cost to us is
None.
enhancing?
No. We're doing that, that's just something that we know is going to be something that will encourage other probation officers that have collection units to use that.
I think that's a selling point for what the DA has, is for UCM to work, we needed the DA on board in addition to adult probation and public defender and jail. A lot of those folks decided not to go with UCM. They like their TMS system at the DA's office. From a technology perspective, I was waiting for it to be upgraded, and I think that happened this year. So, you know, I'm at least happy that you guys are paying attention to your product and you're delivering on upgrades and security improvements and things that we need you guys to do. So that, you know, for this year, I was like, you guys didn't hold a lot of weight with me, but, you know, at the end of, the last few months, it's been much better. So.
And we work closely with all the IT departments, we view them as our customers as well, because we know that they have a lot of overhead and things to do, so with our application, that should actually reduce, hopefully, some of the stuff that you may have to deal with.
So the bottom line is we don't expect this to cost anymore. Is that right?
That's correct.
I think the only additional cost would be the modules that we don't currently have through UCM. The cost of purchase, again, the collections module says 4,000, I apologize, I didn't bring them.
Correct, yeah.
It would cost us a lot more than $4,000 to get that collections module through UCM, because again, they are expecting us to help. First of all, we're supposed to help build it. They've already got it. And I believe it was was it in the $11,000 or $12,000 range to implement? I don't know that number for sure, but I know it was significantly more than $4,000.
I can tell you from our experience, whenever we built the UCM, the ORAS assessment system, it was $42,000 that they charged the 4 counties, Berks, Cumberland, York, and Dauphin, to have that built UCM.
Similar when we invested, we were the first ones to use the court notification process, and that cost us $30,000.
So that's some of the reasons why those counties are staying, because they've invested and expanded on the use of it, and now they continue to give UCM money, and they came back out.
And I think we don't want to get to that point. My concern is that shortly after a demo, I was reached out to by the UCM representative. I sent them a list of things that BTM could give us and said, hey, let's talk. I got nothing back. There was no real response to that.
And I came from this domain, even though I've been in the private sector and worked for a technology company for 7.5 years and started my own business and partnered with Jim. I still feel as though I'm an important employee. That's where kind of like my first job, and kind of went to federal right when 9/11 happened. I actually left federal probation after 9 months, went back to the county. People like, you're leaving the federal job. And I just saw more opportunity. I stayed there for another 5 years, got my master's degree through the Juvenile Court Judges Commission. So I'm vested in this just from wanting to do it. And I think that's what separates us a little bit. We know what the needs are. We know what to do. We understand the language. And we pride ourselves in making sure we have great customer service. Fayette County, the chief there, one of his first questions was, there's a reporting system. Theirs was called UCM reporting, web reporting, something like that. We have something similar, but we offer a phone version and a mobile one. He's like, after the first month, they said that they were going to handle all the support calls. After the first month, we started getting them, and we're like, you're supposed to call that number. And they said, we did, and they said, call you guys. Is that going to be different? I said, we have somebody that just handles that, and that's all we do. And I do it too. Everything that everybody does, I do as well. And I think, and same with Jim, like, we're not just, the owners, we do the development, we do customer service, we do the whole 9 yards. So we're extremely vested in this, and I think that's why we've grown the way that we've grown.
Question, if we would change systems to BTM, how long do UCM have to be up and active? Or is that like a day one switch, or
Sure.
do you have to migrate data over?
So what we do in all those situations is we ask for data done from UCM months before. We want to get it in our system, start doing the data conversion, have probation, have an opportunity to look through it, make sure all the everything came over. We want to sign off that everything looks good as far as the data perspective. We have a targeted deployment date, and I think we've only missed that once, and it wasn't because of anything that we missed, we just had to reschedule it. The Friday before, we always go live on a Monday. The Friday before, we give a template to send off to UCM and say, month in advance, hey, on this date, we're gonna need the data dumped at 12 o'clock. The reason we do 12 o'clock, we used to do 4 o'clock, and then they didn't give us the file we needed, and we were trying to track people down at 6 o'clock, and it almost cost us 9:20 on schedule. So we say 12 o'clock now, in case there's any hiccups. You go offline from 12 o'clock until Monday morning. We do the data conversion over the weekend, because it's depending on how much data there is. It could be 6 hours, it could be a day and a half to run the data conversion. Data conversion is done either Saturday or Sunday, depending on how big the county is. We come in on Monday morning and they're never lost a step.
In terms of the court notifications, that gonna be, you're gonna be using this system then too?
We would like to.
Or the reminders of the.
So that we're all incorporated on one
Which
system,
is
yeah.
mandatory now, right, all of the.
Yeah, yeah. One of the other benefits that ATM offers, which again, I gave that information to UCM, this is something they offer. If you guys can match that, we'll talk. They actually do phone calls as well. One of our issues, UCM does email and text notifications. Well, if you don't have a mobile number or an email address for a defendant, we're sending a letter. They actually call the phone number in the record. So if there's a phone number in the record, they will call. This also adds, as part of the collections module, again, the texting, email, and phone calls regarding missed payments, which again is not offered through UCM yet.
It's like
I'm sorry.
automated voice.
Yes, like an
reminding
automated,
the person
hello, you
got
have
a
missed your
court-
payment.
Oh, no, I'm talking
Yeah.
about that court one.
Yeah, those as
They-
well. Yeah, same type system, an automated phone call reminding them of a court event. What was the time frame, or we set the time
It's
frame?
configurable.
It's configurable, we
Yeah.
usually say 6:30, but it's configurable.
No, I mean, how far ahead?
Yeah, that's
Each court
configurable.
event can be a different time, like preliminary hearings could be 1 day, sentencing could be 2 weeks, formal arraignments could be 3 days. Each event can have its own, it'll have its own message, because it's gonna be a different court event, and then a different time that it can be sent out prior to.
Multiple different, for every event.
We currently don't have that, but that was something that you
Yeah,
brought
we
up
brought
that you
that
would
up.
like to have
Yeah,
too.
we currently do the notifications at 7 days and 1 day. We call the 7-day one the, oh darn, I have to ask off work alert, and the 1 day is the, oh shoot, that's tomorrow alert. 2 reminders to get them. And again, we've seen some reduction in,
Yeah.
even with not having a phone number, not having a cell number or email address for every defendant. I think UCM was able to give us a report. We only have about 1/3 of all defendants have that contact information. About 1/3, and we've seen, I believe, a 24% reduction on average. Yeah, we don't have quite a full year's, we might have a full year now. We're live in June. Even with that, only having 1/3 of defendants being able to get that contact, we're still seeing like a 25% reduction in failure to appeal rates.
And we
So-
try to do that across the board, so
Yeah.
collection reminders, court reminders, office appointment reminders. So, hey, 2 days prior to a probation office appointment, don't forget you got an office appointment, because if they don't show up there, probation officer's like, are they doing something they're not supposed to, or did this person just legitimately forget? And that caused a whole bunch of issues, different resources, possibly filing a violation. It just really sucks in, all resources. But we also do it for drug testing as well. We have a drug testing randomization module. Blair County, Wyoming County, Tioga, Pike, Clinton, trying to think who else. There's a couple.
67 counties.
Columbia, Montour. So we send out reminders for that, for like drug court. And also in the DA's application, we have reminders that we just started last year for victim witness coordinators to be able to send out court reminders to victims and witnesses. Which there's 7 or 8 already DA's offices that have hopped on that. So any opportunity that we can communicate more, it just reduces the amount of issues that can run the gamut across any of those events that happen.
Okay. Mike, so you're still with UCM, right?
Yes.
So are you interested in this or?
This is Julie, she's our data entry
Hi,
person.
Julie.
She does most of the work on
Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
The biggest frustration that we've seen with UCM has been how slow the system has been. Now, we've just gotten an updated system a few months ago,
Yeah,
June, which has made the system a lot faster. But any, like, technical stuff about the system, what we would like to see, Julie's probably the best person to ask.
And not to put you on the spot, we'd be, just like we went up to Cumberland County, we'd be more than willing to come back again. You're not too far away, hopefully I don't get flat tire. But to do a demo, so you would see what the application is, you know, to really get a better understanding.
But the system would be very similar to what the DA's office is using, so if you go over there and talk with Trish or some of the secretaries over there, the system's gonna be very similar. I mean, it's the same look and feel as probation, but as far as functionality wise, with it being docket based and having all the court events there and tracking this type of data you want to track, it would be very similar to the way the DA application works. The forms that they can generate from the system to be able to generate any kind of contact, appointment letters, whatever kind of forms you would need to generate would all be able to be done right from the system. So, we will, you know, we're gonna have our PD application be done by the end of the year. So we can certainly come back once we're further along with that and show you a demo of our application. But if you wanted to just get an idea of what it would look like, you know, just stop over to the DA's office and just ask them to show you kind of, you know, how it kind of works.
And the other thing that we make available is that same kind of communication, because you're communicating with the defendants a lot, so the ability to text from the application.
Can you show that? Because I was very, very impressed by that. Are you able to demo that, where you're showing that, where you're texting back and forth with, or a log of texting back and forth with a defendant through the system?
Sure.
The only thing you won't be able to do is actually, when we demoed it, we were out on our network, so we could actually send a text and.
Right, no, but at least show what that, I mean, that, to me, that was pretty impressive. You have to actually communicate with that.
So the way that the texting works is you would just come into the offender that you want to communicate with. And you just come in here and click on the phone icon or the bubble icon right here. And this is where you'll be able to send the text. So, you know, please send me your new employment information. Then you click send text and it will go out and send that text message to this number instantaneously. So the offender would get that in real time. And then from there, they're actually able to respond back to that text message. So they get the text message, you know, they're asking for new employment information, send you new employment information, and then the way that will work is in the system, every 5 minutes, you will look to see if there are any new notifications. We're kind of on a test database right now. So it will come up under an officer alert where you'll be able to, it'll be a screen that will kind of open up just like this. So you'll see that it was a notification from the offender and basically what they typed back. And right from within the screen, you're able to reply right back. So he sent you his employment information, you just come in and say reply and say, you know, thanks, or, you know, whatever you may want to do. All that is self-documented. So if I come in here into our journal entries, which is where all their notifications, you can come in and see, you know, all the texts that are kind of back and forth. A lot of this is redacted because it's a test one. But if I come in here to offender communication, and then here you can come in and view a conversation. So this is more of like the dialogue that has kind of go back and forth. So you can kind of see this was a reminder for to have made a monthly report. Hey, if you're lean, don't forget about your pro-trap call-ins. And then these are all their replies, which again be redacted, but this is what they would kind of send back. So you can kind of see how the POs and the offenders are communicating back and forth. It's, I mean, if we show you the numbers on how we just had our conference, we had all of the text messages that each county was sending out and having replies back. I mean, we're talking, I think Fayette County sent out 20,000 texts last year. So this is the way that people are communicating. You call your offender and they see it's you and they're just not going to pick up because they don't know what you want. If you send them a text message just asking for basic information, you know, what's your new phone number, who's your employee, then they're going to look at the text messages, and if it's something simple like that, they're going to respond. So it's increasing the amount of communication that the offender and the probation officer are able to.
So is that automatically generated into what we call the appointment section of UCM? So the officer is going to have to sit there and redo the data. It's already implemented into that area.
Right, so right now they're making a phone call. Hey,
Right.
I need your da-da-da-da-da. Then they have to go back into the system and they have to type notes about, I called the offender on this date at this time, I did this. All that's being documented. You're shooting a quick text instead of 5 minutes of documenting what you
Right.
did because it's already logging it itself. And when you're looking for
Yeah.
efficiency measures, that's a huge one. Not having to go back and make those notes or leave a message and wait for them to call you back and then, you know, playing back and forth like that.
Right, so right now, everything's self-documented, but I know what you're asking. In our, we have a portal that the offender can go into, and they can send their new employment information, they can send their new address, their new phone numbers, And if they do it in that way, then we will prompt the PO and be like, this offender reported a new employment information, would you like to update that employment area with that new information? And that will streamline that process. We'll also add a note in as well, but with the texting going back and forth, we can't tell that this text was an employment-related text, so we can just document that.
Sure.
But if they were text back, you would still be required to go to the employment section and put in the new employment information.
One other question. One of our biggest problems with UCM is the server issue. Constantly talking about slowness. Last week, Wednesday, it basically shut down like at 12:30 in the afternoon. Everything was server. Sorry. None of the officers can do anything. I mean, we're so involved in this, and we are shut down. This is our heartbeat of our whole system. So for 4 hours, we couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
The next day, it wasn't as slow, but almost as slow, work on the servers. How is this prevented in your company that we don't have that issue?
It's a totally different infrastructure. Everybody wanted the mad push to web-based, and then information out on servers. And our stuff sits behind your county network, behind your firewalls. We give all the IP addresses to lock stuff down, and then everything's here locally. A little bit of a disadvantage is there's a resource as far as hardware and software, but the advantage is that little bit of cost when you're talking about resources and slowness and systems being down, our system, doesn't go down. Very rare. I mean, Jim, you can speak more about this.
And it's going to be the same infrastructure at the DA's office, so you can go to the DA's office, ask them the last time the system's been down, and it just doesn't go down because it's on your network, it's within your infrastructure, so we don't need to worry about, a router going down or the internet being slow. So if your internet goes down here in the courthouse, you're still able to use our application because it's on
So
the
this
network.
is not web-based then?
So we have multiple modules, so it will be on all of the computers. We also have a mobile application and we have a web application so that the officers can use it in the field. So they can use it on their mobile devices, on their phones, and on their iPads or Droid or Google devices.
Mobile is used by everybody. If that went away, they'd be like, that is just such a time saver. The web application was really for agencies that might have had a satellite office where they really had no other options, so we kind of did that. But to be honest, we experienced the same things with UCM with that because you're at the mercy of kind of the bandwidth that's purchased and all the different hops that you have to go through. If you're connecting via VPN, that increases overhead.
And that was one of our issues, like how slow it was. It just seemed very dependent on what was going on with the web, and it was just.
And that's why we wanted to provide 3 different options. Like we didn't want to just say, here's one thing and that's it. We got the thick client, which is locally based. We got the mobile application and we got the web application. So it's kind of like there's not one thing that fits all, but we have the 3 various tools that you can use to be most efficient.
Like, do you see this as a benefit for collections?
I do. I just have a couple questions. The self-reporting text through the notifications.
Yes.
So we have an offender who has a payment plan in Chester County, Dauphin County, and Cumberland counties. And each of those counties have 3 different addresses, 3 different phone numbers. And so they pay Cumberland County in January, and then we don't hear from them again until April.
Okay.
Does the system use the address from March from York County, or do they use the address from January from Cumberland County and/or phone number? And does anybody that have access to that account or that defendant, can those 3 counties view all the information from those 3 counties in one database?
We are only going to have access to the data that is within Cumberland County. So we don't have access to view the data that is in Dauphin County or to view the data that is in York County. So we would only be able to see that they made that payment in January and the address that was last utilized from Cumberland County, which would be from January. So once February rolled around and they didn't make a payment and we're sending out a reminder, we're going to be using the information from the information that's in Cumberland County database.
And that's not a limitation on our part, that's AOPC. So when you request a court case event message or the DEX, So the process is for the court case event message, probation court has to request that through JNet, and it's for that county only. Like, we don't get any other county's information into the system. That's their policy.
But I can see that information through CPCMS, so
Yeah, that's CPCMS. I'm just saying, outside of CPCMS is the court, so they let you see everything, but any records management system isn't going to be able to get all of that information. It's just a limitation on
Even if
who's-
the other county is a BTM user? Pick another local county.
So,
Who
Yeah.
else is on
so,
you
so
guys?
Adams County, Franklin
Yes.
County, we would have to really work with the courts on that to make sure that, everybody was on the same page and everybody was signing the MOUs and all that. So if there were that, then yes, we may be able to entertain that and see how that could work, see
So
if
it's potentially a future
it's a potential,
enhancement to look
because-
at in the future.
Right, so right now, we can only get access to the county that, like Cumberland County, but if we do have Adams and Franklin, then it's possible.
Because we share defendants with them. Sometimes they'll tell one county their information and not tell us.
Right.
So being able to share that information and know that,
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility, but we would, right now, nobody has really asked that, and we haven't really approached the courts for that.
And even for the data exchange, like court administration has to send a letter to APC, say yes, and it's just been for Cumberland. But that would be a great idea and enhancement, that if Franklin County is using collections and they enter in a payment, that we'd have a sysparen that says, oh, they're also on in Cumberland, just send an
Yeah.
automatic notice. It's not even that we want their staff to have to do anything.
let us know that they're making payments over
Yeah,
there. If
but
they
I don't
want to talk to
wanna-
us in 6 months, we can,
Yeah, the only thing I'm very cautious of, I don't want to promise anything.
No.
We always just be like, those are great ideas, and if there's the ability to do it, it's never the technology. It's usually the people and the.
well, and there
other
are
stuff that
limitations
get-
of what CPCMS will provide as well. We totally understand the limitations there.
How long are we contracted with UCM?
Through June of 2020. And perhaps you could give a time frame, Ron, like, we talked about a time frame. We need, if we do go this direction, there has to be some time to get everything in line, so.
Yeah, the biggest thing, typical deployment for us from start to finish, and it's because there's a lot of other, there's JNet, AOPC, there's a lot of other things that are involved. If it was just us being like data conversion and that's it, we could do this in 2 weeks. But typically, over the last 4 years, what we've seen is we want about a 3-month, from the time that it's like, okay, we're gonna do this, to the time that we can deploy. The only curveball that's been thrown in the last year is AOPC with their deployment schedule for all these web services. They are now on set dates where they go, you need to have your web service request in by this date, because we're gonna close it. Now, this end date was supposed to be 9/20, was the last date that you needed to get your requests in, and then they have to approve it, so that could be a 1 to 2 week process. I just got the email yesterday that they've already closed out any new requests. We're not even through August yet. So that's how so now that, anybody that didn't get those in, the soonest, and that was for November production deployment for their services, now it's January 12th. So it's one of those things that there's a timing thing, that we just gotta make sure that somebody doesn't come to us, let's just say you're June, and you're like, we wanna have this implemented before we have to renew it. We would be able to do our part, but you may not have a web service if you didn't get those in prior. So I always encourage counties just to get them in as soon as possible, so they get approved.
how much time would be invested or wasted? Is there a data dump that would be needed or approvals for a 30, 60, or 90-day trial period?
Yeah, no, I mean, we have no problem, again, we're very flexible. We want to give every opportunity for people to feel comfortable. We have no, it's more of a IT court, being like, hey, we can set up a pilot, like a test environment set up, but there has to be a server spun up, and for us to be able to put that there. And then the other thing that you'd have to do is you'd have to ask UCM for a data dump. We'd run our conversion, put it in there, and you can.
No, that wouldn't be live data though, they wouldn't be doing actual cases, because we wouldn't have the CPCMS feed.
Well, you want to, yeah, it would be your data, and we would want you to have
But
your
it'd be
data.
old.
It would be old, and it would just be kind of like a play environment. You want to be able to text, you want to be able to do the functionality.
So nothing live?
Nothing live. It would be if they took a snapshot of data dump on today, when we imported it, that's all you'd have. If you entered a journal entry or some kind of record after that point, and you went in our system, you're not gonna see it. You would just see whatever was there prior, from that date prior. But we've done that a couple times in the past, and we have no problem from our perspective.
Gary, you were talking about some of the matrices and the paybacks. The time management of this program and the training is just unbelievable. And a quick example I can give you is that just to close out one case, as a supervisor, I have to click 13 times to close out one case. In this system, it's like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
That's one case if it's just one docket number. If that individual has multiple docket numbers, I have to do that on each docket number. So as an officer, as a supervisor, to manage the caseload system for the officers, I can spend over a minute just closing out one case.
So we I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't say this, but
That's it.
we've gone into places and we've had staff say, oh my God, how much more time am I gonna have? Am I gonna have a job? And I know coming from the courts, there's always stuff to do. You can always find more stuff to do. There's never not enough to do. But from kind of you're saving staff resources, so that may not reduce the employment base, but maybe, a year or two you don't have to hire because you now just gain that time from staff.
But that should show up long before you get to the hiring question. I guess that's what we were getting at earlier, which is there should be some metric. I'm not so much interested in making the job, no offense, Greg.
Right.
I'm not interested in making it easier. I'm
Right.
interested in making it easier to get more
Yeah,
done.
and that to me is gonna just be more of that qualitative data, talking to people and saying like this, that was qualitative data, that was like 13. Because we're not gonna be able to go into the other system and say, to do that process, it took you 5 minutes and ours takes 1. If somebody wanted to do that before they jumped off, but that would be the only way you'd be able to do it. But I know some people don't want just qualitative data, and we'd love to be able to get those other metrics, and I think reminders and stuff like that for how many people failed to appear for office appointments, how many bench warrants were reduced that didn't have to be issued. That stuff is all kind of quantitative. We can give you the numbers now, you just have to have a database where you get the numbers from the past.
That's what we're interested in, is outcomes.
Right.
Really outcomes.
Yep.
And we've been limited on what we're able to obtain from both CPCMS and UCM to get those numbers.
And I'm sure you have in your contract that if you need a form or report, it's $150 or whatever, just call it. We got Franklin County last week, we had Butler County. Hey, judge wants these stats of number of offenders between 18 and 24, what's their employment status, what's their this, I don't know if you even have that in there.
Yeah, it was basically, they just wanted to have the offenders that live within their county, that are 18-24, that are broken up by male, female, broken up by their age, whether they are able to work, and what their employment status was. So we were able to give them that report within 2 or 3 days so that they can submit for a grant. And that's just some of the turnaround we can provide with when things aren't pressing. We need something by the judge needs something tomorrow. Can you get it to us? So we were able to respond and give you these type of reports when we know that people want things last minute.
And that same type of information from UCM, when we try to do that for data, sometimes takes us weeks. Weeks.
And longer if you have to go to the CBCMS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Request a new report from CBCMS.
Oh, I have reports from 4 or 5 years ago that every now and then I'll get a weird email that says, do you still want this?
Yeah.
No.
Brian, is there anything else you want to show us?
When we usually do this, it's about 2.5 hour demo, so, and I know your time is valuable. I think like the biggest things are just, the communication capabilities, being able to generate all your forms in here, so we just have, a couple that, we don't want staff, if they're using Word documents, we don't want them using the Word documents. We want to put them into our system, so all the data that we have in can just pre-populate the forms. So we have, and it's up to the county, the probation office. We have some that have 85 forms in there, and we have others that got 12. We can always say give them to us, and we tell them give them to us. There's no extra charge. That's part of your support that you're paying for. We don't come back and say you have another fee. That's a big time saver. The texting, the reminders, the ease of use of the application, the uptime of the application, being able to store all your documents within here too, so you have all the information in one place. documents, images. The mobile application is huge, that's a huge time saver, for people that are on the field, on-call officers.
This also allows us to take the data from our cell phones. We want to take a picture of an offender's license plate or a house, we can download it right into the system immediately out there.
It's this, so you
Yeah.
actually take the picture and it goes right down into the database,
That's
so it's
awesome.
back in here, so you're not having to purchase separate cameras and be like, okay, we gotta take a camera, now staff's gotta download to the computer, then they gotta upload it in our system, they use our mobile app, they take the picture of tattoos, person, house, vehicles, license plate,
You can attach
paraphernalia.
other documents as well, paperwork that defendant submitted, correct?
In live and home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just, in our conference, I mean, there's so many things. Ability to apply signatures now, so you don't have to print stuff out, get signatures, scan it back in, upload it. The ability to do CPIN integration for photos if you had CPIN. What was the other thing with the mobile device documents? The ability to
Generate retainers and warrants from our mobile application. So you can now generate, from your phone, you can generate a warrant or retainer and then email it to the appropriate person that you
CCP wherever we needed to,
Correct.
journal on the spot.
And it'll be self-documented, it'll be in your documents, the journal should be created. We're able to automatically attach PO signatures, supervisor signatures, so whatever your warrant retainer form looks like, you can generate it from the mobile app. And your on-call officer can just do it on their phone and submit it to whoever they need to submit it to.
webcam integration, so there's Northampton County had like class and they had somebody at the front that wanted to take pictures, and so now they can mount the webcam and they can stand and the pictures will come right through the webcam. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Last night, you had 35 counties in production, you still at 35, adult probation.
Yeah, we are, the next one is Center County, adult probation. And then we're in contact with 3 other UCM counties outside of Cumberland.
Last I knew that there was 12 flip counties from UCM to BTM, and I reached out and spoke to all 12 counties, and they have overwhelmingly been pleased with, and said they should have done this years ago.
Yes, I mean, Erie County had a study done by a university, and the biggest thing that they went back was that the records management system was causing staff. That was the biggest complaint, and that was a university study that was done out there a year before we kind of deployed them. So.
Sandy, Dana, you have any questions? Or anybody for that matter? Comment?
On the reporting, once you create a report, it's launched so that we would have access to it, correct?
Correct, yes.
So then it would be at our fingertips.
Yeah, all the reports will, so we have all of our canned reports, which are kind of shipped with our system. They're all under, the reports here, so if you need to print any kind of caseload reports or, number of drug tests that were done in a specific time frame. And then all my reports are all county-specific reports, more like your forms and things of that nature. We've been trying to, when counties ask for more of like lists and things of that nature, we've been trying to make that available to the entire community. So if you guys asked for a specific report that's more of a list, then we built that into the report section so it's available to all of the counties moving forward. But once in a while, we'll get a type of report that's really specific to that one county, and we'll be able to do it just for them.
And then from the financial side, I know you haven't developed a lot of reporting yet, but will you develop things like, I could do a report and know what my totals are for anybody that's 30 days over, and maybe who's assigned to that case, and
Yeah, so a lot of that is, some of them, because we're getting the stuff from the court case event message, it's not 100% reliable. So we knew that this DEX interface, this data exchange was going to be available. It's going to be much more reliable. So we actually will have access to their database. We're not relying on JNet where they're sending us something and something may fail, and that one financial gets falls through the cracks. Now that we have basically a snapshot of CPCMS, we'll be a lot more reliable on what their numbers are for a specific month, how many people are 30 days overdue, 60 days overdue, 90 days overdue, and things of that nature. It'll be much more reliable.
will you be keeping any historic data so that we could like look up what the numbers were for say 2019 versus 2021?
We can talk about that. A lot of counties they do right now is they'll generate reports and just have them on file. I know in Chester County they have been asking us to do a lot of kind of snapshot type reports for caseloads for last year. What did this PO do for the month? And we're creating more of like snapshot type reports like that. So if that's something that is requested or you guys would like to have, we can certainly talk about.
I
those
think
things.
we're looking too at like changes from year to year, being able to make that comparison from what was done in 2019, and I just, we're not on in 20, from
Right.
first year we use it through, you know, year 5,
Yeah.
how that much better did we do? How many more
Right.
cases did we process? You know,
Right.
were we more efficient?
Right, well, then I'll tell you like the amount that was kind of captured each month, but, you know, keeping track of how many people were 30 days overdue, so that will need to kind of build more snapshot type.
And when Jim says, just to explain the snap, because we're doing this in Carbon County for kind of offender and officer statistics, the same, similar.
Right, so basically, I mean, it'll be a little bit different, but on a nightly basis, what we're doing right now is we're capturing caseload information. So how many, every night we capture how many offenders were on supervision, how many are active, how many are inactive, how many are absconders, the number of male, female, how many are able to work. So basically, like your board state stats, you gotta do it each year. We're capturing a snapshot of that every night.
Because right now, you get it at the year and you're like, great, we had a CJAP meeting and I want to know for this quarter, this time period. And it's difficult to get some of that complexity from the system, even if you have the data. So what we've done is work with Carbon to
Right, so
take the
now-
snapshots. Now you can be like, show me a week, show me a quarter, show
So
me a month.
we're creating more charts and things of that nature, so you can kind of see how the cases have flown throughout the year, how many people were able to work throughout the year. So different things like that. We're getting to more of being able to generate graphs and some more of that statistical analysis.
Jim, Gary, any questions?
I mean, what I'm hearing here is I think there's some timeline implementation issues. We've got the contract with CCAP that I guess we can't get out of until the end of the middle of next year. My question has to do with how does that work with, you know, Public Defender's Office, if you guys are going to stay with UCM. You know, I don't know what's in the contract or how the contract's worded. The other thing I think is important for us as a board of commissioners is to have a good detail on the issues that we've had with UCM so that we can explain to our friends at the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania as to why the system, you know, didn't meet our expectations. And I think that we should, along with that, document the issues that we've had, communications with the CCAP where it was not responded to in a timely fashion. So that's important, I think. Not necessarily for me because I'm wrapping up my service as a county commissioner, but for these guys and other future commissioners and the relationship that we have with the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania.
Okay, anything else you guys want to mention?
No, not really. We kind of just wanted to make sure that all of your questions were addressed. We've done, you know, some demos and we've spoken to them multiple times, so.
Anything else from you folks? Thank you. We have a better trip.
Yeah, I'm sure I will, hopefully. Who's gonna add 4 times mics? I think I have it on that. It said a lot recent sessions, so I'm using this, it should be the same as. I like that you have that, to be able to pay. I mean, there's more and more that are doing it.